All right, we've arrived at Christmas in the summer. What's up, everybody? It's Jeff Mackey live. I'm Spencer Israel. The other guy in that direction on your screen is Jeff Mackey. And Jeff, it is Amazon Prime Day / week / month / whatever it is you want to call it. It's a big deal, apparently. They tell me the people are going to spend all their money. So let's talk about it.
It's exciting stuff, Spencer. Made up holiday. Jeff Bezos' gift to the world. If the man wins a Nobel Prize, and I feel like he should, it would be for this. It would be for Christmas in the summer, which it's kind of become. It went from a quirky idea. They started it for Amazon's 20th anniversary in 2015. It seemed like there was some skepticism. Let's just say there was some skepticism. It was, kind of a cynical sales thing. But you know what? Now it's become really the official kickoff to the start of holiday shopping season. The days are getting shorter. It's time to ease people into the habit of spending.
Days are getting shorter. Factually, that is true. I don't think anybody thinks in those terms, but yes.
I went out gathering firewood just yesterday in the San Diego area because I wanted to get a head start on it, and I have a significant head start over most of the locals. But this is actually a bigger week for cyber sales than any single event throughout the rest of the year. It's bigger than Cyber Monday. Really? Which is also a fake holiday, but I mean it's huge. $26 billion of online spending, according to the folks at Adobe. Bigger than Black Friday and Cyber Monday combined, at least online. And it's frankly just kind of it is what it is. Obviously, June and July are pretty slow retail months. For obvious reasons. People are outside and they're kind of have already loaded up on most of their summer goods. But at this point, pretty much every major retailer has had to kind of dance to Amazon's tune, just because it's a great way to clear your summer inventory. And it's, people like sales, people like bargains. If there's one thing we've heard about the consumer, and we're going to get into more about the consumer not being weak at all, and not just being a bunch of propaganda, probably from the commies, but it's that aside, this is a nice catalyst for people to spend. It's a nice catalyst for stores to clear their shelves. And it's a big deal, whether you like it or not, no matter how cynical you are. And there's a lot of bargains. Children's apparel is going to be huge this year. Electronics is going to be huge. And as you can see, the second quarter is going to be the biggest non-fourth quarter in the history of online sales.
Yeah, there's a noticeable bump there. There's a noticeable bump you can see in the Q2 every year. Between Q1 and Q3, there's a noticeable random increase in the middle part of the year. That's weird, right?
No, there's a little bit of a timing issue there. Amazon kind of moves around the Christmas. It's not fair. Being an utterly secular holiday. They feel like they've got some latitude when it comes to actually planning it. But at the same time, so they moved it into the second quarter, which makes it a much bigger year over year for June rather than July. But again, all of that aside, $300 billion is nothing to sneeze at. That's a lot for folks to spend at a time they don't need to spend it. And a lot of that just comes from, 40% off is a good price. And unlike a lot of clearance stuff, that's been the criticism, is this is just an excuse to clear out your stuff. There's still plenty of summer left. This is the best part of the Christmas season, meaning that you can still go to the beach for like another 3 months. And so, you can still buy a swimming suit. You can still buy the stuff that's discounted and it still has a useful life. It's not like buying back to school stuff in November.
Right. If I can actually go back, I want to go back to the previous slide here. So, the point that you made is basically every other retailer now has to dance to Amazon's drum. So we're getting sales across the board this week, right?
Exactly. And in stores, out of stores. I don't know what date they're going to do it. Target at some point, they periodically sell money at a discount, which is amazing. You can buy gift cards for 10% off. Which honestly, if you're going to go to Target anyway, and as we've mentioned before, the moms are going back to Target. So I suggest going back to Target because the moms know what they're doing. It's just free money. It's a glorious, glorious thing. My kids get little stocking stuffers. Again, kind of athletic socks because we are in the middle of summer. But it's every year. They just kind of get little $500 gift cards because it's free money.
Um, you brought up this chart of the expectations or the forecast for this for Q2 of this year. Obviously, a lot's been made about the consumer and how strong and or weak they are. And there were some concerns, especially a couple months ago when gas prices were really going parabolic there for a moment, that the consumer was tapped out. That has shown up in certain areas of the economy. Certain companies like Whirlpool have said, "Yeah, we're seeing it. Our customers are feeling it bad." But other companies have come out and said, "We don't see any problems at all with our customers." So, what is the general like expectation for for Black Friday for Prime Day season this year?
You kind of add up the whole consumer picture, and during real boom times, real, everyone's feeling flush and giddy and cash rich. Pretty much everyone does well, right? That's a given. This year, much has been made, and people are imputing all sorts of different consumer takes based on the mumblings of different companies. And if you
Mhm.
really drill into it, the companies that are doing well, offering compelling products, are having absolutely no problem selling things at pretty much full price. And the companies that are a little out of step with the consumer, cough Lululemon, cough Nike, go through the list. The companies that are making excuses about the weakness of the consumer are more or less not doing very well. And then you have that category in the middle. We heard Carnival report yesterday. I, you know, I heard kind of sweeping conclusions about, oh, this is a sign of people at the low end spending less. They're booked to capacity pretty much for the balance of the year, and folks are still going on party cruises. Kids don't buy, people don't buy children's apparel and get hammered on Carnival cruise ships when they're feeling particularly strapped, when they're feeling, really really tight in the wallet. So this makes two consecutive years. Last year was the tariffs. This year has been the pointless war, where you saw all this headwind being priced into the stocks, the XRT, the consumer index doing a whole lot of nothing. You can
Mhm.
see Walmart, Amazon, and the XRT in general, more or less flat for the year, just kind of a little bit on the happy side of par. But you are also seeing at the same time breakouts in select companies. Target, Williams Sonoma having terrific years, Viking Cruises, which is in that blessed area where it's a little higher end consumers. That's making a 52-week high. We're seeing kind of these oases of companies where the narrative fails, where the soft consumer isn't showing up, narrative falls apart. If your comps are positive and your target positive comps, you're out comping Walmart for the first time in 5 years, and people want to badmouth that. That's fine. I want the other side of that trade.
So what's the read through in terms of Prime Day? Because next week they're going to come out with the numbers and they're going to say, "Hey, here's how we did. Here's how much was spent in this area and in that area," and they'll probably break it down a little bit by segment, I would imagine. And can we extrapolate that? So, for example, let's just say that Amazon says, "Yeah, we had massive growth in like I don't know, footwear, for example, right? Can we just extrapolate that and say, okay, people seem to be buying shoes. Maybe we need to go look at some shoe stocks. Is it that simple?
I didn't know you were a footwear guy, Spencer. We'll
Yeah.
talk
Yeah.
about your just it's interesting to me that you came up with feet there, just
I
as a
I would
Mhm.
never buy shoes on the internet, but that's just me.
Okay, well,
Yeah.
maybe it's just feet overall.
Yeah.
But it's there is actually a cry in one of the major business publications. I forget if it was Bloomberg or someone else, perhaps the Journal, arguing that Amazon should break down their sales more. They'll come out with kind of their hype. It's we serve more people than ever. We sold more of our
Right.
little spy speakers than we ever have before. The numbers will be gargantuan, bigger than last year, but what the article is arguing is that Amazon, because they're basically just enormous at this point, and they are kind of the big dog online, obviously, that they kind of owe it to society to break those numbers out in a really specific way to give us an economic view. You and I have spoken for years about how Walmart is the best single economic indicator on earth. That's becoming conventional wisdom, which I find both kind of insulting. It makes me want to stand up and say, that's my idea, God damn it. But at the same time, it's for the greater good. They're exactly right. Amazon should do that. They won't. So all they're going to do is just kind of hype it up and say more people like Alexa, and they used Rufus, our agentic shopping app, more than ever.
So there isn't really a trade to be made here. We can just expect Amazon to come out and say, yes, we more money was spent than whatever you thought they were going to spend. More was spent, right? Whatever the estimate was, it's going to come in higher. But there is no like downstream trades as it pertains to like Prime Day per se. I think that's what you're saying, right?
I think the existing downstream trade is continuing to bet that the consumer is fine for a lot of different reasons. And that doesn't seem like the boldest call in the history of the world, given that they've had a little bit of a run in consumer stocks. But you know what? They've done bupkis for the last year and a half. Our portfolio members are doing much better than bupkis. We're well ahead of bupkis. But it's been a little bifurcated tape. There's plenty of good news out there, and you see things you pointed out to me earlier this week. You can see the XRT. That's you're not going to get rich with that in your 401k plan, there, Grandpa. I mean, it's compounding your rate of return over the course of 50 years at 1%. That's you're gonna be eating cat food in the retirement home, and that's always sad. But it's a stock picker's market, and what you want to pick, if you look at the hotels, they're doing amazing. That's a chart there. You can't really see it that much, but the chart in the lower right is gas. Now, if you want a theme on gas, and I always dumb down oil just to gas, and I know it lags, and I know the president's complaining about it, but that's kind of his want. But as long as that's going lower, it's the trend that matters there. It's the direction rather than the absolute price. Consumers can get used to a lot of different gas prices, but that effect that you have, to the extent it even existed, where just more money's coming out of your wallet every time you fill up at the pump, that's going the other way now. And that's terrific. That's a happy surprise. More happy surprises, the better. Shopping is social and it's emotional. And that's the emotional side of things. The social side of things means that everyone wants to short Target because all they have are stores. But then you see Simon Property Group at an all-time high, and you realize people still go to malls.
Well, the other thing about the gas too, I hear you. The direction is the most important thing, but it's also a question of like how close will it get to where it was previously? How far down will we come? Because that was the main complaint about the inflation for that post-COVID inflation. It wasn't so much that part of it was, of course, a dramatic spike in prices very quickly, but also that they were never going to come back down ever again, right? We were never going to see pre-COVID prices in anything, right? So now it's a question of like, yeah, gas is coming down. Are we going to see pre-Iran war prices again? Or like, how long does it take to get there, right?
And that's kind of in retaildom, that's going to be a real tail end effect. And so are the retailers going to eat the margin when that comes through? Remember, retailers they order things about 2 months in advance. And so to the extent they were paying for stuff, they didn't start paying more for stuff because it cost more to ship it until fairly recently. Stuff they ordered 2 months ago, they're paying for as it works its way through the supply chain. Picture a snake kind of digesting a goat, just coming through in a big lump. As long as the goat and not just a steady stream of making the snake fatter, the prices should move down. Now they're less elastic on the way down than they are up. The COVID thing, that didn't resolve itself in a way that folks would have liked as much. The prices didn't come down all the way on a lot of different stuff, but at the bleeding edge of retail, you can still get a t-shirt for $5.50 at Walmart. That's a pretty good price.
Yeah. All right. So your takeaway seems to be, don't wait for the headlines next week to tell you what a great Prime Day or Prime Week, whatever. What a great Prime Week it was. It's gonna be great, right?
It's going to be great. It's going to affect we've got a little baby setup. If you remember Cyber Week, where we got long the retailers and it turned out to be one of two trades you had to make. Last year was all about, you bought stocks in April during the Liberation Day nightmare. And then you bought them again in November when everyone was saying Christmas is dead. No one's going to believe. Well, this is summer Christmas. And I tell you what, if people don't believe in real Christmas, they really don't believe in summer Christmas. And they're going to do better than that. The retailers will sell an awful lot of product. It'll clean their shelves. It won't be the highest margin stuff, but it's going to be things like, the fact that kids apparel is doing really well. Again, it's you've got a kid. It's your kid's not going to a formal ball every week. It's you can kind of make that money stretch a little bit if you're not feeling kind of flush. When apparel's doing well, that's going to be margins even when you mark it down, and it cleans out the shelves and makes the stores run more efficiently. All that is super bullish for a sector that's been flat for the better part of 2 years.
All right, that's the takeaway.
That's your takeaway.
Yeah.
You like the way I put a button on that? Every once in a while,
Yeah.
the fact that I'm an old broadcasting guy, I put buttons on things instead of just rambling. So it's there you go. But I think I'm still bullish on the retailers right now. I love buying stuff at 52-week highs. I love buying stuff that people like to short at 52-week highs. That makes this what we call a target-rich environment for me. And I'm just a rooster in a hen house. I don't have. I've got more ideas than I have available liquidity. My open to buy is a little limited because I'm super long.
New idea went out this morning, right?
Indeed.
New idea went out this morning to the members, and as here, if I can bring the chart back up here, what chart did I want to see? I wanted to see this one. It's kind of a classic consumer stock trend, which is you've got like very serious dispersion, and maybe last year, we know in periods of market turmoil, correlations go to 1, but retail, like more than perhaps any other industry, has the winners and the losers, right? And that's the point that you've always made. So yeah, while the XRT sucks, right? And a lot of retail charts don't look amazing, especially the larger ones, right? Some of them actually, if you keep looking, look pretty good, right?
Look pretty good.
Jeff mentioned the hotels, right? He mentioned Target. Williams-Sonoma's on this chart. So you can see that there. So there are trades to be made. There's money to be made. You just have to go look for it.
And you can kind of get as gutsy as you want. You can see Wayfair has had a huge move. That's on the bottom there.
Oh,
they've got. I just pointed them out because I was really surprised by the depth of the discounts they have at their store over the holidays. It's a reasonably well-run company that gets really buffeted by the winds of consumer change and sort of all the pressures that these guys face. But when that company's on fire, man, it's a trade. You can get as risky as you want. I'm playing it a little more conservatively by buying super well-run companies that are making 52-week highs.
All right. We mentioned about a dozen or so stocks during the last 18 minutes. Jeff did put on a new options trade on one of them this morning for his members. You too you can tail him if you'd like. You can get those trade alerts when he puts them out. And the link to join or get the Mackey portfolio is in the description below. Find out what he owns, what he owns long term, what he's doing short term with the options. Give himself a little portfolio kicker, so to speak, and you can get involved because, to Jeff's point, the way to own retail is probably not with the XRT. I mean, you could, but you won't make any money from that. So
no, follow me. There's a little wake of profit. I'm breaking the ocean there, so people can swim behind us. They can water ski in the plume of profitability.
I'm looking forward to seeing how this latest trade plays out, because you're going back to the well from a previous winner. So you said, hey, it worked once, I might as well do it again. So we'll see what happens.
I'm not big on reinventing the wheel. The wheel, as it turns out, is a really good product. So I'm just looking at ways to make more money off that same idea.
Fair enough. Amazon Prime Day. What are we buying, Jeff? I haven't looked yet. In terms of sales. Yeah.
What the hell, Spencer?
It just started. I got like 4 days to go.
You've got a baby. It's 40% off. My gosh, you're a new father. You go out and buy stuff for like 40% off. You can get all kinds of different things.
We got to buy some shorts. We're light on the shorts. We're light on summer clothing. Okay, that's where I got to go. Summer clothing for the kid.
And get free money at Target. That's where you go right now. And check out Best Buy televisions. They've got new TVs. Are you on the market for a $7,000 television? Because it's priced for just $5,000 now. 82 inches of RGB clarity.
Wow, it's like Amazon knows me. I go to Amazon.com right now, and I get like the top thing on the thing is all just kids stuff. It's like they know me. It's crazy.
Yeah, I wonder why. They know both of us. They've got 18 spy microphones. Our biggest audience right now is just Amazon Alexa.
That's true. Actually, that's probably true. Our biggest audience is these servers somewhere in.
No shame in that. The 15 speakers I have in my house.
That's right. All right. Go shopping. Enjoy Christmas in July or July, whatever month we're in. We'll see you next week. Get Jeff's picks in the portfolio. Use the link that's in the description. And Jeff, I'll see you tomorrow on the morning show, right?
Yeah, it'll be fun. Be great. We'll talk soccer.
Okay, we'll talk soccer. See you there.